I would like to take this opportunity to thank you all for attending this reception and the conference here today. Our aim is to endorse a joint resolution calling upon the United Nations member states to urgently set up an international independent investigation into the war crimes and crimes against humanity, and to look into the continuous crimes of genocide committed against the Tamil people by the successive Sri Lankan governments. The domestic mechanism set up to investigate pogroms, extrajudicial killings, and sexual violences against Tamils has never delivered the justice to those victims. These internal commissions have subsequently been dismantled by consecutive governments. Since the war ended in 2009, the Tamil homeland in north and east of Sri Lanka is heavily militarised, and current government has failed to bring normalcy to the Tamils in the area. It is a clear testimony that the government of Sri Lanka is not interested in addressing the root cause of the conflict in Sri Lanka. Tamil people live in fear and are terrorised with enforced disappearances by the Sri Lankan military and the parliamentary groups. Over 80,000 women were widowed as a result of this war. Most of these women are under continuous sexual harassment by the Sri Lankan armed forces, and rape of these vulnerable women and girls occur on a daily basis with impunity. Although the Sri Lankan government claims that the former combatants have been rehabilitated and released into community, a list of the detainees who were taken into custody at the end of the war has never been given to the international community of the Red Cross. This is, of course, a grave violation of international law. The government of Sri Lanka has failed to comply with the United Nations Human Rights Council resolution of March 2012. Instead, it's come up with a national action plan, which is deployed to win time to defer the implementation of the objectives of the resolution. The judiciary in Sri Lanka is appointed by the President, who is also the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Hence, the independence of the judicial system cannot be expected. We seek today the support of the international community to call for an international independent investigation in support of this resolution. I thank you all for your support here today. I would now like to call upon our APPGT Chairman, Lee Scott, whose Conservative Party constituency of Ilford North. Lee has fought tirelessly for the Tamils and organised a number of debates in Parliament. He has accompanied BTF Human Rights Team in Geneva several times to lobby at the sessions, and he has addressed and attended a number of Tamil events. I would now like to welcome Lee Scott.
It is not an easy thing to try and achieve, because as you all know, anyone who says that there has been wrongs done is straight away an enemy, is straight away criticised, and I have been accused of many things, from everything from being a white tiger, and I will tell anyone here, and my colleagues who know me well know I'm a coward, so that is exactly impossible. And I also think it is quite an ability I must have of what I've been accused of, because I've never actually set foot in Sri Lanka, so I'm not sure how I've achieved some of the things the press have accused me of achieving. But what is vital is as follows. Innocent people were killed, women raped, children disappeared. There has to be justice. Before anyone can start reconciliation, there must be justice for people. That justice is something that we're duty bound to fight for, and at the United Nations, when the important meetings will come up in March, I will be continuing that fight. It is vital that all of the atrocities which have been shown on the Channel 4 documentary, The Killing Fields, it has been there on the TVs. These must be looked into. It is not my role to make accusations against individuals, nor will I do so. But what is important, that for peace and harmony on all sides, for all groups, these must be looked into so that we can move forward. But what is vital as well is one of the things I've been asking for is a list of those that are missing. I have been promised it I have not yet received it, and I will carry on till I achieve that. Missing children, missing babies, missing men, missing women. This just is not acceptable. So it's something I want to pledge to you today, and that is I will continue to stand up for what I believe is right. I won't waver from it, I won't change from it, and I will be at your sides until reconciliation and justice for all can be achieved. It is important that we stay united across all groups. The APPG is cross-party. It's not one political party. It represents all parties, with colleagues from other political parties going to Geneva as well. That pressure will continue, and I can't tell you when justice will happen, but what I can tell you is I won't rest until justice does happen. Thank you all very much for being here today. I look forward to being with you again tomorrow, and let's work together to do the right thing, and that's important. May God bless all of you.
Thank you, Lee, for your kind words. I would now like to call upon Robert Halford, who's an APPGT Vice Chairman, to say a few words.
Please do something for us.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is a great pleasure to serve on the all-party group with Lee, who has been an incredible champion for the Tamils. And I just want to say one thing. I often say to people that I have no Tamil, very, very few Tamil people in my constituency, but I'm here for one reason only, because I believe in justice. And I do not understand why there are genocides that are recognised all across the world, but the genocide against the Tamils has been ignored by so many. And I believe that genocide should be properly recognised by the United Nations for what has actually happened, and it should be properly recognised all over the world so that the Tamils can be given the respect and dignity that they deserve. I also think, as Lee said, we need more inquiries into what has gone on. We've seen the Channel 4 news, and I think the British government should put a lot of pressure on the Sri Lankan government and seriously threaten to not to have the Commonwealth Summit in Sri Lanka if the continued ill treatment of the Tamils continues. I will continue to work with the all-party Tamil group. I will do what I can to bring justice to the Tamil people, to ensure that their genocide is recognised, and do what I can to ensure that they have the autonomy and civil rights and human rights that you all deserve. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words, Robert. It's true to say that definitely the war crimes of Sri Lanka have not been recognised, and it's great to see so many people here today to support us make a difference to that. I would now like to call upon Right Honourable Simon Hughes from the Liberal Democrat Party, constituency of Bermondsey and Old Southwark, to say a few words on behalf of the cause.
Thank you very much indeed for the opportunity to say a word. Firstly, welcome to everybody here. This is your House of Commons as well as our House of Commons. And it's right that you come here to debate the issues that matter to the Tamil community in this country. I've been a Member of Parliament for nearly 30 years. I hope I don't look as if I have, but I have been a Member of Parliament for nearly 30 years. Like other colleagues, I don't have a huge number of Tamils in my constituency. That's not why I've taken an interest in Tamil issues. I have very few indeed. But as a human rights lawyer by profession, and a liberal by political conviction, I'm clear that the Tamil people in Sri Lanka have suffered from institutional prejudice for the whole of the time since the independence of Sri Lanka now half a century ago, and that the terrible events of the last decade have not yet in any way been put right. With many of you, I spent many days and nights out in the square at the time of the Civil War and the Civil War coming to an end. And what was clear at that time was that in the end the superior military force of the government was able to intervene and was able to repress the LTTE. What was also clear from dialogue at that time with the United Nations, with the American administration in New York, in Washington, where I went with Tamil sisters and brothers, with the European Union, where we organised for people to go to talk to the Foreign Affairs Commissioner in the European Union, and conversations with the Commonwealth here in London. What was clear from those events was that there was not any effective international organisation that could protect Tamil people against their government if their government decided to turn on them. And there's a fundamental failure of international law that still allows the sovereignty of the state to be all dominant and the right to protect to be put aside. When the UN wanted to drop food and rations and medical aid, they were often told they could not do so. And when organisations like the Red Cross and others sought to do so, sometimes they were prevented. So there was a terrible situation of inequality. And it's clear to me now, as it was then, that during that time there were war crimes. I'll be direct with you, they were committed on both sides of the equation. On both sides. They were committed by the LTTE and they were committed by the Sri Lankan government. But the most relevant issue in international law is that governments, elected democratic governments have a higher responsibility than other people to make sure that they obey the law, and a higher responsibility to make sure they don't commit crimes. And what has not happened since then has been an independent ability to assess and deal with the war crimes committed against whoever committed them, whether they were government members, government employees, armed forces on behalf of the government, or anybody else. And we're here because we believe that wrong needs to be righted, and the work that's been done independently, the report commissioned by the Secretary General of the UN, needs to be followed up by independent action. The all-party group which Lee chairs and which you've had referred to had its most recent meeting with the relevant minister in the Foreign Office only the other day. And across all the parties in both houses of this Parliament, we are determined to make sure our government goes on making the case both for proper inquiry and then proper legal action against those who committed war crimes, but also goes on making the case for a Sri Lanka where everybody can have equal rights irrespective of faith, of background, of colour, of creed, or anything else. Of course there's a debate for a Tamil homeland, of course there is. But the precondition to any such engagement is that every single Tamil is free to go to Sri Lanka, to travel where they wish to visit where they want to go, and to go back to their villages or towns if that's where they came from. And just one last thing, Chair. One of the tests for me of how civilized a country is whether the international organizations and charities and the press are free to go and report what happens. And until Sri Lanka has press freedom at the levels that we would expect in our country and other countries, until there is a change from the position where they're at the bottom of the league table, nearly globally, in terms of press freedom, I don't think people can be confident that the regime is understanding the nature of the change that has to happen. So we're here to pledge our support to you and to each other to continue the work. We know there is much more to do, and the current agenda item that's at the top of our list is making sure that the investigation continues by the UN human rights body in Geneva, that the progress reports are implemented, that we don't take our eye off the ball, and that we hold the Sri Lankan government to account nationally and internationally, not just for this generation, but for future generations of Tamils, both in Sri Lanka and here. So I hope you know you have support here, but not just passive support, regular, active, proactive, engaged support from colleagues in both houses of Parliament. And what you're doing is gathering together, as it were, to decide what messages, what activities, what organisation you have for the future, I hope will be seen to and felt to support you on a regular basis as much as you do us.
Without
Thank you.
support like yours, we wouldn't be here today with all this support here. It's about time that Sri Lanka and all the crimes are on the map. And it's thanks to your tireless support over the last 30 years that we are able to do this. So I thank you kindly. I would like to now call upon Jeremy Corbyn, who is an APP GT member and a Labour party from Islington North.
Thank you very much. Like Simon, I've been here since 1983 in my case, and I recall very well the huge demonstrations we held in Hyde Park at that time because of the killing that was going on of Tamil people in Colombo and elsewhere during that dreadful summer of 1983. Sadly, that was only the start of what was a very, very difficult 3 decades for the Tamil people, culminating in all the problems of the past 2 years. The solidarity of the Tamil community in London is absolutely amazing. The community that organised a march of 200,000 people during the hunger strike in Parliament Square was an incredible turnout, the biggest demonstration I've ever seen of any one community in London. And to the shame of the British media, it went almost totally unreported. 200,000 people on the streets of London demanding peace, demanding rights and demanding justice deserved at least the presence of all of the British main TV channels and all of the British newspapers. And the bravery of those that took part in the hunger strike in Parliament Square and all the demonstrations that went with it. And since then we've had the continued problems, we've had the concentration camps, we've had the terrible treatment of people, and now we have the continued violation of human rights. None of us want war, none of us want conflict, none of us want torture, none of us want oppression, none of us want to be denied the right to return to our own areas. And our message surely to the Sri Lankan government is recognise the Tamil people, recognise the Tamil language, recognise the aspirations of the Tamil people for their own lives, their own community and their own part of the island of Sri Lanka. Therein lies the road to long-term peace and long-term stability. Continual denial, continual imprisonment, continual oppression of the media and other forms of self-expression can only lead to further problems and further conflict in the future. Those that have sought asylum managed to gain, for the most part, a place of safety. Those that weren't able to get out, sadly, many of those died in Sri Lanka during all those years of conflict. Our message today is solidarity with the Tamil people, and as Chair of Liberation I've been proud to work with many Tamil organisations both in raising issues in this country and at the UN Human Rights Council, and we will carry on doing that, and having an all-party group is an important way of getting that message continually raised within the British Parliament and pressurising successfully successive British Foreign Secretaries to demand of the Sri Lankan government stop the oppression, grant the rights, understand the right of self-determination, and therein we will get long-term peace for the Tamil people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeremy. There were some wonderful words there, and what you can take from the message is realise the Tamils, realise the language, realise the culture. We've been hidden for too long, and the oppression has gone on for too long, so today there is a chance for us to make a difference. My next speaker will be Alok Sharma. He's a Conservative Party constituency of Reading West, and will be delivering a message from Conservative Central.
I'd just like to say 2 things very briefly, because you've heard very eloquently from my parliamentary colleagues on this issue. The first is to say that the British Tamil community in this country make an absolutely fantastic contribution across all areas of life. And I think this is something that everyone from the Prime Minister to those of us here as parliamentarians recognise. And whether that is in the professions or in business or in public service, making a huge contribution. I think that's really to be welcomed. I in my own constituency have a growing Tamil community, and I can tell you that they're absolutely engaged in the mainstream, contributing in every single way. So I'm really pleased about that, and I know it's something that my parliamentary colleagues will share as well. But of course you're here today to discuss issues relating to the Reconciliation Commission that had its findings at the end of last year. I just want to add my voice to the call for an independent mechanism which is absolutely credible, transparent, and where we can see that all crimes, all grave abuses are investigated. At the end of the day, the hallmark of any civilized society is to make sure that we have good human rights, that the oppressed are looked after, that there is no injustice, and that is something that we all want to see. I hope you have a very good discussion today, and I look forward to meeting some more of you later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello. I would now like to call upon our APPGT Vice Chair, Siobhan McDonald, Member of Parliament for Labour Party, constituent of Mitcham and Morden. She's worked for a number of years with us. She's attended and lobbied at the UN session in March when the UN resolution was passed against Sri Lanka. She's taken part in a number of events in Canada for the Tamils, and she's lobbied in the European Parliament to remove the GSP and concession. So we thank her, and we'd like to call upon Siobhan.
Welcome to Parliament, everybody. As I said, I'm the MP for Mitcham and Morden. I don't know if anybody from Mitcham and Morden is here. I've seen at least one person. Oh, so great. You're all particularly welcome. I was born and brought up in my constituency, and when I was first elected, all I ever wanted to do was to focus on my community, to make my area a good place to work, live and grow up in. I've got no pretensions to be the Foreign Secretary. So how did I end up taking an interest in Sri Lanka and the plight of the Tamils? For many years there has been a Tamil community within Mitcham and Morden, stable and well integrated, no trouble at all. Then slowly I started to see people at my advice surgeries, people with terrible stories about their friends and family. My local newsagent in Devonshire Road told me that he had lost contact with his sister. Her family was trapped in bunkers in the so-called no-fire zone. They were shelled every day by the Sri Lankan government. The last he heard from her, the incessant bombing had driven her to distraction. She decided to make a run for it across open land that was heavily bombarded. He told me that he had not heard from her since and did not know whether she was still alive. Then there was the young man who lived just past the station in Colwood Gardens. He told me a horrible story about his aunt. She had been killed, and so badly was her body mutilated that her family had to take a box to the scene to pick up all the pieces. Meeting people like these is why I want to help the Tamil community get justice. What could be more important than obtaining justice? What could be more important than stopping future leaders engaging in war crimes like these? So I'm proud to support my Tamil community and their call for justice. Anyone who doubts should watch Channel 4's astonishing documentary, Sri Lanka's Killing Fields, dramatically revealed war crimes at the end of Sri Lanka's armed conflict in 2009. The images broadcast by Channel 4 were among the most harrowing ever seen on TV. They depicted what the UN Special Rapporteur on Extrajudicial Killings described as evidence of definitive war crimes. 40,000 civilians, mostly Tamils, were killed in the last few months of Sri Lanka's armed conflict. The UN Secretary General of Experts called this a grave assault on the entire regime of international law. Justice must prevail, and that is why I support an independent international commission of inquiry and to investigate these crimes. I want Britain to take a lead against abuses in Sri Lanka. In 2009, the then Foreign Secretary David Miliband visited Sri Lanka as the fight continued to implore the government to protect civilians. Britain took a lead. As evidence emerged of Sri Lanka's government's complicity in human rights abuses, we ended preferential trading status for Sri Lanka in the EU, preventing Sri Lanka hosting a Commonwealth summit, and voted against the IMF signing a deal with Sri Lanka worth $2.5 billion. This is a lead that we should continue to take. Quite simply, we should be demanding an independent international commission to investigate what my colleague Douglas Alexander calls acts of unconscionable violence. Under international law, there is a duty to provide accountability for war crimes and crimes against humanity. Britain should be at the front of support these actions, especially as Sri Lanka's own domestic investigation was so fundamentally flawed, to quote the panel of experts. We are respected around the world for taking brave and principled leads, just as we did in supporting military action in Kosovo, Sierra Leone and Libya, and just as Channel 4 News did with Sri Lanka's killing fields. Earlier this year, I nominated Channel 4 News for the Nobel Peace Prize. In my nomination letter, I said, by bringing to light the breaches of international conventions by the government of Sri Lanka in a bold manner and by piecing together numerous forms of evidence in a coherent way, the value of independent journalism to the building of a peaceful global order in the century ahead has been amply demonstrated. Crimes such as those revealed in Channel 4's documentary deserve to be investigated. Justice must be served. Tamils in Mitcham and Morden have strong values. They work hard and are active in their local community. If I want to organise a local meeting, I only have to contact my good friend Siva, who will bring some chairs in his ever-used van. Here in Parliament, I'm surprised he's not here taking photographs now. Here in Parliament, we have been impressed by the support we have had from the Tamil community. That is why the Tamil community deserves our support now. We should take every opportunity to call upon the international community to bring those guilty of crimes to account. Because without that, we will never see reconciliation in Sri Lanka. But most of all, because the Tamil people deserve nothing less. Along with my Labour colleagues and with Bassett Law Labour councillors, I stand firmly alongside the Tamil people in their fight for justice, truth and reconciliation. I am pleased to meet the Foreign Office Minister this week on these issues and to be meeting the Church of England soon to seek their assistance. John Mann.
In your speech, you put it into real terms of what actually the crimes that have taken place. We look over this very often, and it's often seen that it's more a political issue, but Siobhan here has put it into an everyday point of view. There are so many people affected, and that just proves...
Thank you. My first message, first of all, obviously I'm pleased to be here today, even though it's been a bit horrendous organising it, but I'm very pleased you're all here. I have a message from Boris Johnson, the Mayor of London, and he says, and this has been sent out, thank you very much for kindly inviting me to the International Tamil Conference taking place on the 7th of November. I'm so sorry, but much as I'm very grateful for the invitation, unfortunately it is not possible for me to accept on this occasion, as my diary is already full with mayoral commitments and engagements that day. However, I do hope that the conference is a success, and as Mayor, I am grateful for the work many in the British Tamil community do for our city and recognise the contribution they make. I would like to take this opportunity to extend my warmest good wishes to all the people involved. And my second message is one from Gavin Barwell. Gavin Barwell is a member of the All-Party Parliamentary Group. He is the sponsor of this event. Unfortunately, he has been called away at the last minute, and he's sent this message. I'm delighted to welcome everyone attending the International Tamil Conference to the Palace of Westminster. I am sorry that I'm unable to be with you, as I'm running the by-election campaign in Croydon North, which many of you will know about, and which borders my constituency, and I have been called to help there on an urgent matter. But I do hope that you will have a productive discussion about how to advance the case for an independent mechanism to hold all of those responsible for war crimes during the conflict in Sri Lanka accountable. I recently had the opportunity, along with other members of the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Tamils, to meet with the Foreign Office Minister Alistair Burt to raise concerns about the continuing failure of the Sri Lankan government to fulfil the commitments it has made, and which we hope it will now be held account for and that they will undertake these. Once again, my best wishes for the day. Thank you.
And Jeremy Corbyn, and to see so many familiar faces here. I think I'm lucky enough in Britain to have the largest number of members of the Tamil community living in my constituency, the constituency of Harrow West, and I see one or two people here already. That's not to say that all the other Tamils who live in Britain are not wonderful people, just that the Tamils who live in Harrow West are particularly wonderful. I'm here today, like others, to pledge my support again to the call for an international independent investigation on war crimes. And in so doing, to express the hope of all of the Tamils who live in my constituency to see justice within their lifetime in Sri Lanka. Others have talked about the ongoing human rights abuses. There is an issue that still faces the UK government to think much more carefully than it has done up to now about whether or not there should still be deportations of failed asylum seekers back to Sri Lanka if there is any risk of those people being the victims of the security forces being tortured. I have seen in my own constituency surgery one of the victims of torture by the security forces in Sri Lanka, and there continue to be real ongoing concerns that people sent back from the UK to Sri Lanka are at risk of being arrested and tortured by the security forces. And I do hope a message from this conference to the UK government will be, yes, to continue to support the call for the international independent investigation, but also let's see joined up government. Let's not send people back into harm's way from the UK, and let's make sure they have justice as well. I wish you well for the rest of your conference. Thanks very much.
Impunity and the desperate need for an international independent investigation. The case that they display is based on the Trincomalee 5 boys case.
Get a good judgment from I lost my son. They murdered my son. That day, 2nd of January, night, I take a decision. Any way I challenge it.
Thousands of people have died or been disappeared in Sri Lanka, and the human rights abuses keep happening because people are not being held to account. We need governments around the world to help Sri Lanka break the cycle of violence for good.
I can't get back to my son. I want to file the case in front of the international community, and I want to get the good judgment. That is for the lesson for the Sri Lankan force or others.
Over the years, Amnesty has collected thousands of cases of disappearances. These families need answers, and they're not alone. People around the world have written to Amnesty, pushing for justice in Sri Lanka, and will be taking their demands to the UN in New York next week.
It's a picture of what's happening in Sri Lanka.
Do not be persuaded or influenced by what some propaganda machine tells you. Do not be influenced by demonstrators.
Wadihara is just one of thousands of victims we have been killed by the security forces. On a weekly basis, we get calls from human rights defenders, journalists, scared just of speaking out. The government has completely silenced dissent. Especially the security forces feel that they have a carte blanche to do whatever they want. Victims' families in Sri Lanka want the rule of law. They want courts to function. They want the police to register their complaints. They want some action taken when someone kills a loved one.
Everything is Chechen now. Now my family is at the home. Now I am alone to go to New York. And no, anyway, I will manage that. During these 5 years, I am used for these tensions and everything. Now I am ready.
Right now, there is a panel that's been set up by the UN to look at human rights abuses in Sri Lanka. The world's heard about the atrocities of the Tamil Tigers, suicide bombings, child recruitment, targeting mainly as civilians. This doesn't give the government the right to target the civilian population. No one knows the full extent of government
Long history of violence. We're talking about a situation where thousands of ordinary civilians were trapped in a war zone and literally thousands of people were killed.
Sri Lanka, I can't challenge the case, I can't plan anything. You know why? Who is the lawyer to my case?
Some signatures on Amnesty's petition for a real inquiry into what happened in Sri Lanka. I think what's important for all of us is we can't let what happen.
As such, killing members of the group, causing serious bodily, mental harm, members of the group, deliberately inflicting or on group or condition life, calculated bring about destruction in whole or in part, imposing measures intended to prevent birth within the group, forcibly transferring children of group or another. Presently the question is, what all this lacking in Sri Lanka to see what is happening to Sri Lanka Tamils is genocide. This is describe exactly what has happened and happening to the Ulam Tamils, people in the northern eastern part of Sri Lanka. The non-violent struggle against discrimination and persecution, which started 65 years ago, mercilessly repressed every area of the life of Tamil, gradually came under attack. Several communal riots, burning of library with 95,000 volume of books, destruction over 2,000 religious places, colonization of land, torture, rape, use as a weapon of war, embargo on food, medicine, to thousands of leading to disease and death are among the other evidence of genocide. Ulam Tamils were humiliated, dehumanized, victimized and annihilated. In the context of both peace and war, the policies of the Sinhala Buddhist Chinese Sri Lankan government, based on the racist ideology of the Mahavamsa, led to genocide and war crimes. Finally, the worst massacre of 40,000 people in Mulivaikal in April and May 2009, including bombing of hospitals, left few in doubt of the reality of genocide. In fact, the 40,000 is the figure accepted by the UN expert panel on Sri Lanka, but the actual figure is much higher. Unfortunately, the persecution has not stopped. The colonization, militarization, Buddhization continues in the north and eastern of Sri Lanka to eliminate the identity of the Ulam Tamils. Also, other violations, including disappearances, torture, rapes and killings, continue. Within the brief my speech, I cannot go much into detail. Therefore, I kindly request all of you to go into our website, TCHR, for further information and data and lists regarding extrajudicial killing, disappearances, torture, rape, and arbitrary. Since 1990, year after year, TCHR brought this detail of the massacre upon massacre to the ears and eyes of the international community. It has not been an easy task, but necessary one. Ladies and gentlemen, impunity continues and the government relies on absolute non-interference by other states. But no longer the government hide behind the denial, lies and deceptions. Resolution in the 19th session of the Human Rights Council and the latest Universal Periodic Review are good examples. We appeal to everyone here to help to communicate the proof of genocide and to ensure that Sri Lanka be brought to book in the in the most thorough and rigorous way possible both war crimes, crimes against humanity, especially the genocide committed against the Sri Lankan Tamils. We need your help, support and solidarity. We cannot proceed alone with the dictatorial Chinese government of Sri Lanka.
And we'll leave you for a networking and reception session afterwards. I would now like to call upon the BTF General Secretary, Mr. Ravi Kumar, who will be reading the proposition for the resolution.
Welcome. Good afternoon, conference and delegates. The resolution as follows. Expressing our appreciation for the report on Sri Lanka by the panel of experts appointed by the UN Secretary General, and noting in particular the report's acknowledgement of the persecution and extermination of the Tamil people for political reasons on ethnic grounds, expressing our appreciation for the findings and recommendations of the Permanent People's Tribunal on Sri Lanka held in Dublin, noting with concern the continuing destruction of the Tamil nation in the northern east of the island of Sri Lanka, despite the end of war in May 2009, and the need for an immediate arrest to the present conditions of persecution of the Tamil people. Reminding the responsibilities of the international community under the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court and under the doctrine of the responsibility to protect, RTP. We call upon the member states of the United Nations to urgently set up an international independent investigation into the complete conduct of the Sri Lankan state against the Tamil nation, and specifically call for an investigation of war crimes, crimes against humanity, and the crime of genocide against the Tamil people. We urge the leaders of the international community and the global civil society to take immediate steps to provide for space for free flow of information that would bring to light as to the ground realities prevailing in the north and east of the island of Sri Lanka, to stop decimation of the Tamil nation by the Sri Lankan state, to stop singularization of the Tamil traditional homeland, to demilitarize the Tamil people's homeland for the people to exercise their democratic rights free from fear of persecution. Thank you.
From the Communist Party of India, and I would like to call upon Mr. D. Raja to say a few brief words.
Friends and comrades, at the outset, I would like to congratulate, sincerely appreciate the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Tamils and the British Tamil Forum for the commendable work campaign in support of the Tamils, and also for their very timely initiative to call for this international meeting. Friends, what happened in Sri Lanka was a genocide of Tamil people. We have never witnessed such a genocide in any part of the world, in the contemporary world, in the contemporary history. It was a genocide. What is happening today is genocide in multifarious forms. I call it a structural genocide of Tamils continues in Sri Lanka. My party has been fighting, campaigning against this, not only inside Parliament, but outside Parliament. being a national political party in India, my party has taken up this issue at national level. My party has categorically demanded there must be an independent international investigation into war crimes and the violation of human rights in Sri Lanka. We have made it very clear. India is the immediate neighbor for Sri Lanka. India has a moral responsibility, ethical responsibility. My party has been questioning the role of India in what happened in Sri Lanka. My party has been asking the government of India to recast its policy towards Sri Lanka. It cannot pursue the same policy when such a massacre is taking place, genocide is taking place in Sri Lanka. It is not just an emotional issue for us. It is a political, moral issue. It is a diplomatic issue. It is an issue on which India must take a clear-cut stand. Our government took a stand in supporting the Geneva resolution. Even at that point of time, my party questioned the government. It is India should have taken up the initiative for a much more stronger resolution. Even this resolution can be strengthened by an active intervention by India. But we hope that government of India in the coming days will have to change its positions clearly in favor of Sri Lankan, in favor of Tamils. And as a political party, we have been campaigning and will continue to campaign. And while I demand an international, impartial, independent inquiry, investigation into war crimes and violation of human rights, our party supports a meaningful political solution to the Tamil people. And that political solution which is acceptable to the Tamils of Sri Lanka, whether they live in Sri Lanka or they live outside Sri Lanka. And we are for such a solution which is acceptable by the people. And friends, I do not intend to make a speech here, but I must reiterate my party stand. My party is committed to the cause of Sri Lankan Tamils, and we were with the Tamils of Sri Lanka in the past, and we are with the Tamil people of Sri Lanka today, and we will continue to be with the people of Sri Lanka, the Tamil people of Sri Lanka. That is the assurance I can give you. As a political party, we will continue to campaign and we will continue to mobilize the public opinion in India. We will continue to mobilize the opinion, international opinion, in favor of Sri Lankan Tamils. With these words, I conclude, and I hope this conference will be a meaningful, a milestone in the struggle of Tamils of Sri Lanka for their genuine aspirations, legitimate rights and demands. I broadly endorse the resolution proposed here, and let us hope for better future, a bright future for Sri Lankan Tamils in the coming days. Thank you very much.
Raja for his words. I would now like to call upon Mr. G.K. Mani from Partali Makkar Kachi. Mr. G.K. Mani is the president.
பிரித்தானிய தமிழர் பேரவை நடத்தி கொண்டிருக்கிற இந்த நிகழ்வின் தொடக்கமாக ஈழத்தமிழர்களுக்கு உரிமை கிட்டும் என்ற நம்பிக்கையோடு நடத்தி கொண்டிருக்கிற இந்த நிகழ்வில் கலந்து கொண்டிருக்கிற அருமை சகோதர சகோதரிகளே, உலகத்துணை பேருக்கு வணக்கம். ஈழ பிரச்சனையில் தொடக்க காலத்தில் இருந்து இன்று வரை எங்கள் மருத்துவரையா அவர்களும் பாட்டாளி மக்கள் கட்சியும் உறுதியாக நின்று தொடர்ந்து போராடி கொண்டிருக்கிற ஒரு இயக்கம் என்பதை நான் முதலில் சுட்டிக்காட்ட விரும்புகிறேன். இலங்கையில் பூர்வீக குடிமக்களாக வாழ்ந்த தமிழ் இனம் நாங்களும் படிக்க வேண்டும், வேலைக்கு செல்ல வேண்டும் என்று உரிமை கேட்ட காரணத்தால் ஆட்சி பொறுப்பேற்ற சிங்களவர்கள் அன்று முதல் தமிழ் இனத்தை அழித்துக் கொண்டிருந்த நிகழ்வுதான் இன்றும் நடந்து ஒட்டுமொத்த இனத்தையே அழித்துக் கொண்டிருக்கிற இனப்படுகொலை என்பதை உலகமே இன்று கண்டித்துக் கொண்டிருக்கிற ஒரு நிகழ்வு. குறிப்பாக இந்த பிரச்சனை எடுத்துக்கொண்டால் நடந்து கொண்டிருப்பது ஒரு இனப்படுகொலை, உலகில் எங்கும் இல்லாத மனித உரிமை மீறல். ஆகவேதான் சர்வதேச சமுதாயம் இதை தலையிட வேண்டும் என்று வற்புறுத்துகிறோம். இதற்கு ஆதாரங்களாக சொல்ல வேண்டும் என்றால், நம்முடைய 2009ஆம் ஆண்டு இறுதிக்கட்ட போருக்கு பிறகு ஐநா சபையின் மனித உரிமை ஆணையத்தின் சார்பில் பொதுச் செயலாளர் அவர்களால் தாருஸ்மேன் உள்ளிட்ட 3 பேர் குழு அங்கு செல்லப்பட்டு பார்வையிட்டு அந்த குழு அறிக்கையிலே சொல்லப்பட்டிருக்கிறது. அந்த குழுவின் அறிக்கை நீண்டிருந்தாலும் கூட சுருக்கமாக சொன்னால், உலகில் எங்கும் இல்லாத மனித உரிமை மீறல் நடந்திருக்கிறது. அங்கு நடைபெற்ற இனப்படுகொலை, அதற்கான ஆதாரங்கள் நிறைய இருக்கிறது என்று ஐநா அவையினுடைய குழு அறிக்கையில சொல்லப்பட்டிருக்கிறது. இது ஒரு சான்று. இரண்டாவது, அயர்லாந்தில் நடைபெற்ற டப்ளின் தீர்மானம், மக்கள் தீர்ப்பாயத்தில் இங்கே இனப்படுகொலையும் மனித உரிமை மீறலும் நடந்திருக்கிறது என்பதற்கு ஏராளமான சான்றுகள் இருப்பதாக சொல்லப்பட்டது. தொடர்ந்து சேனல் 4 தொலைக்காட்சியில் பல்வேறு ஆதாரங்களை எடுத்து காட்டப்பட்டிருக்கிறது. இது 3வது சாட்சி. 4வதாக 2012 இந்த ஆண்டு மார்ச் மாதம் 22ஆம் தேதி ஐநா சபை மனித உரிமை ஆணையத்தில் அமெரிக்கா உள்ளிட்ட நாடுகள் கொண்டு வந்த தீர்மானத்தில் மனித உரிமை மீறல் நடந்திருக்கிறது, இலங்கை அரசு நிரூபிக்க வேண்டும் என்று கொண்டு வந்த தீர்மானத்தை இந்தியா உள்ளிட்ட பல நாடுகள் ஆதரித்த நிலை. ஆகவே இப்படியெல்லாம் படிப்படியாக பார்த்தால் ஈழத்தில் தொடர்ந்து இனப்படுகொலை நடந்திருக்கிறது, மனித உரிமை மீறல் உலகில் எங்கும் இல்லாத அளவுக்கு நடந்திருக்கிறது. ஆன காரணத்தினாலே தான் சர்வதேச போர்க்குற்ற விசாரணை வேண்டும் என்று இந்த குழு தீர்மானித்திருக்கிறது. இதை பாட்டாளி மக்கள் கட்சியின் சார்பில் வரவேற்கிறோம். அது மட்டுமல்ல, இதற்கு பிறகு அங்கே 2 இனம் இவ்வளவு பிரச்சனைக்கு பிறகு சேர்ந்து வாழ முடியுமா என்று சொன்னால், சிங்களவர்களும் தமிழர்களும் சேர்ந்து வாழ முடியாது. தொடர்ந்து நடந்த காரணத்தால், இனப்படுகொலையால் இன்று பாதிக்கப்பட்ட தமிழ் மக்கள் புலம்பெயர்ந்து உலகெங்கும் வாழக்கூடிய அவதி ஏற்பட்டிருக்கிறது. புலம்பெயர்ந்த தமிழர்கள் தினமும் கண்ணீர் வடித்துக் கொண்டிருக்கிறார்கள். ஆன காரணத்தினாலே சர்வதேச சமுதாயத்திற்கு பாட்டாளி மக்கள் கட்சியின் சார்பில், இந்த குழுவின் சார்பில் வேண்டுகோள் வைப்பது, எங்கள் மருத்துவரையா அவர்கள் சார்பில் வேண்டுகோள் வைக்கிறோம். சர்வதேச சமுதாயமே, பன்னாட்டு போர்க்குற்ற விசாரணை உடனடியாக வை, மனித உரிமை மீறலை ஆய்வு செய். அது மட்டுமல்ல, இந்த பிரச்சனைக்கு இறுதி தீர்வு என்று சொன்னால் தமிழ் ஈழம்தான் தீர்வு. அதற்கு வாய்ப்பு இருக்கிறது. அதுதான் இறுதி தீர்வு என்பதையும் பாட்டாளி மக்கள் கட்சி உறுதியாக நம்புகிறது. ஆன காரணத்தினாலே நாங்கள் இறுதியாக சொல்லுகிறோம், பிரித்தானிய தமிழர் பேரவைக்கு சொல்லுகிறோம், இந்த பிரித்தானியா தமிழர் பேரவையும் உலகெங்கும் பறந்து வாழ்ந்து கொண்டிருக்கிற, தினமும் கண்ணீர் வடித்துக் கொண்டிருக்கிற புலம்பெயர்ந்த தமிழர்கள் அத்துணை பேத்துக்கும், ஈழத்திலே வாழக்கூடிய தமிழ் மக்களுக்கும் உங்களுக்கு உரிமை கிடைக்கும் வரையில் உங்கள் போராட்டத்திற்கும் வழிகாட்டுதலுக்கும் எங்கள் மருத்துவரையா அவர்களும் பாட்டாளி மக்கள் கட்சியும் என்றென்றும் துணை நிற்போம். போராட்ட களத்தில் உங்களோடு சேர்ந்து நாங்களும் போராடுவோம் என்று உறுதியளிக்கிறேன். வாய்ப்புக்கு நன்றி.
Thank you on behalf of the Patali Makkal Kachi and Mr. G.K. Money. Just to remind you that there is hot food now available on the sides. Our next speaker is Mr. Tol Tirumalavan from the Vidudalai Sirudayal Kachi, He's the General Secretary. We'll be speaking next.
Now, brothers and sisters, first I wish to congratulate the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Tamils and British Tamil Forum for organizing this important conference at a crucial juncture. I recall here that most of the countries, including US, Britain and Canada, which participated in the recently concluded Universal Periodical Review of the United Nations, have expressed their displeasure over the steps taken for reconciliation by the government of Sri Lanka and have condemned the increasing violence against Tamil people. I emphasize the opinion expressed by the UN panel of experts in March 2011 about the credible allegations against the government of Sri Lanka for committing crimes against humanity, including persecution and extermination of the Tamil population of the Vanni region. Thousands of Tamils are still languishing in secret detention facilities, and thousands of youths arrested by army or missing. Many allegations of sexual abuses of Tamil women by Sinhala security forces were made, but no mechanism of redress is there to address these issues. Even judiciary is under threat. Many reports have confirmed the infamous white vans, continuing abductions and torture of Tamil youths. Hundreds of Tamils have disappeared and been killed since May 2009. White van abductions and the discovery of bodies is becoming common occurrence in Sri Lanka. While all ethnic groups have been targeted by these practices, the Tamilians continue to be more heavily targeted than other populations. Media persons are also targeted for reporting the abuses of armies. A clear case of genocide is evident from the killings. 31 media persons were killed between 2004 and 2008, among them 27 were Tamil. The government of Sri Lanka is attempting to deceive the international community by closing the internment camps. They did not release the Tamil population to settle at their homeland. Instead, they were relocated to ill-equipped refugee camps without any support. More than 260,000 civilians who have been released from the Manic farm camps have not been resettled to their homeland is an example. Various international human rights organizations have confirmed that the continuous presence of Sri Lankan security forces in traditional Tamil areas and the illegal appropriation of their lands and buildings. The government of Sri Lanka is colonizing Tamil areas by forceful migration of singular people there. The civil life of the Tamil population is stifled with unnecessary intervention of army. The Tamil people are forced to obtain permission from army even for conducting family ceremonies. The army is running saloons and grocery shops in Tamil areas and are indulging in agriculture and fishing too. By doing this, the government of Sri Lanka is denying all sources of livelihood to Tamil and making them dependent. Though the international community is well aware of these facts, but still asks the perpetrators of war crimes to render justice. It is an irony. There is no reason to believe the genocidal Sri Lankan government. Already 3 years have gone. No sign of hope is in sight. So, on behalf of the people of Tamil Nadu, I request all party parliamentary group for Tamils to take immediate and necessary actions for setting up an independent international inquiry to investigate the genocidal war crimes done by the security forces of the government of Sri Lanka. For our part, I assure you that I will raise these issues in the Parliament of India and will work to win the support of national political parties and Government of India in favor of just cause of the Elam Tamils. Thank you.
Muthuvel Karunanidhi Stalin from DMK.
Respected Chairman, esteemed members of Britain Parliament, councillors and ministers, representatives of diaspora Tamils and friends, greetings to every one of you. To start with, I express my deep gratitude to the organizers of this conference for the kind invitation extended to the DMK. We feel duty bound to participate in this conference, being held in support of Elam Tamils. We have been invited by Dr. Kalaignar M. Karunanidhi, President of DMK. DMK, a regional political party of Tamil Nadu in India, has been raising its voice for the cause of Elam Tamils. For the last 50 years, we organized conferences and conclaves, demonstrations and public meetings, rallies and human chains, fasting and striking work to focus public attention of the problems of Elam Tamils. In fact, our leader Kalaignar M. Karunanidhi formed an organization called Tamil Elam Supporters Organization, TESO, in 1985. The first Elam war was going on then. The TESO was gradually converted into a mass movement to attract the attention of the Indian nation. After the close of the fourth Elam war, our leader Kalaignar M. Karunanidhi revived the TESO recently to mobilize support nationally and internationally for the post-war problems of Elam Tamils. On 12/8/2012, a big public conference was conducted by the TESO in Chennai. Representatives from various countries participated in the conference. 14 resolutions were unanimously passed, covering all aspects of the plight and problems of Elam Tamils. We prepared a memorandum based on the resolutions and presented it to the United Nations Human Rights Commission on yesterday, 6/11/2012, and to the United Nations Organization on 1/11/2012, urging them to take an action on the human rights violations and war crimes committed by the Sri Lankan government. The conference being held here today is very timely. This will be helpful to draw the attention of the nations of the world to the problems of Elam Tamils. We therefore congratulate the organizers of this conference for the high aim and right target. The history of Tamils in Sri Lanka in thousands of years old. Tamils are a national race of Sri Lanka. They have a very ancient language and a distinct culture. Sri Lanka is a declared democracy. Democracy does not differentiate between majority and minority. It does not confer more rights on the majority and less rights or no rights on the minority. Tamils are a minority in Sri Lanka. The aspiration is very simple. They want equality, dignity, and self-respect. When Sinhalese majority started suppressing the Tamils, when they decided to establish their own religious state, when they adopted Sinhala-only policy, and when they refused any of the democratic rights, employment opportunities, and decent living to the Tamils revolted. Between 1983 and 2009, there were 4 Elam wars in the Highland nation. We have not seen anywhere in this history. that the state engage in a genocide of its own citizens. Such tragedy took place in Sri Lanka. 1,25,000 Tamils fled from their homeland. 3 lakh Tamils were internally displaced. 16,000 Tamil were reported missing. 90,000 Tamil women were rendered widows. Lakhs of Tamils were killed. The entire world was a witness to the large-scale human rights violations and war crimes. What the surviving Tamils demand is fair play and justice. They are awaiting an answer from the world community. They want a logical conclusion of all the sacrifices and sufferings. Nations have already started advocating a political solution. The Secretary General of UNO has been calling for a political solution to the Sri Lankan situation. Based on the past experience and precedents, we are of the view that a political solution is in a referendum which should be conducted under the UN supervision among the Tamils in the northern and eastern provinces of Sri Lanka and diaspora Tamils. With this, I conclude my brief speech. I once again thank the organizers for the opportunity to explain our stand in regard to Eedam Tamils in an international forum. Thank you. Nandri. Vanakkam.
Thank you to Mr. Muttavel Karunanidhi Stalin from Dravida Munnetra Kalagam. Just bear with us for a few more minutes. We will be breaking for networking in the next 10 minutes or so.
Yes.
He's a member of Parliament of the Sri Lankan.
Thank you very much. Here we are, the Tamils from all over the world, specifically from Sri Lanka, the representatives from Sri Lanka, the Tamil representatives from Tamil Nadu, and the Tamil representative diaspora from all over the world. I think maybe after the war, this is the first time we gathered here to pass a resolution which is very important. I think it is very important to have an international independent investigation on the war crime. I think that is the important matter and that has to be taken forward. If there is a proper investigation on the war crimes and the crimes against humanity and genocide, then that is the way to resolve the whole problem in Sri Lanka. Without resolving these things, I don't think any political settlement is feasible in Sri Lanka. So here we are, I think this crowd, tomorrow also we are going to meet to discuss how we are going to take these things forward, to implement these things. I think that's the most important matter. So thank you very much everybody. To gather all these people from all over the world, I think we will go forward and make our goal, we will realize it. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Dr. Krishnasamy, President of the Pudhiya Tamila.
Good evening to each and everyone. First of all, on behalf of Pudhiya Tamila Party, which is a state political party in Tamil Nadu, I thank first and congratulate the parliamentarians cutting across all the political parties in this soil, this in England. They came forward to organize such a nice and it is a very important conference. In alliance with the British Tamil Forum. Because of want of time, I want to say a few words about this conference, that is Independent International Investigation on Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan Tamil people are fighting for their self-respect and protection for more than 60 years. The Sri Lankan government got freedom even before this Indian government got the freedom, but whereas the Tamil people would not get the freedom from from the time immemorial that when Sri Lankan got freedom from the Tamil people are suffering under Sri Lankan government. So during 2008 and 2009, they suffered a lot. See, if anybody wants to talk about the humanitarian, that is atrocities on Tamil people, or war crimes, or any other thing, nobody can ignore the Tamil cause. If anybody wants to talk about the humanitarian issue, if anybody doesn't talk about the Tamil issue, that is incomplete. If anybody wants to talk about the ethnic issue, if the Tamil issue is not addressed, it is incomplete. Likewise, if anybody wants to talk about the war crime, if nobody talks about the current crimes committed on Sri Lankan Tamils, it is incomplete. So, it is at last very happy that the British parliamentarians took up the cause to the international level. Now the Tamil cause is very much internationalized. So we came from Tamil Nadu to support the cause. So we definitely, the Sri Lankan people fighting for their self-respect definitely will get their respect, and although they will live peaceful life in their own soil. First of all, I thank once again for all these British Tamil Forum who took up this initiative. We will in future also, we will definitely come forward to support you very soon. On December 28th, we are organizing a very big conference in Kuala Lumpur in support of this cause. Like such a conference in 2010, I have organized a very big conference inviting most of the Tamil from world over in Coimbatore. In future, such conferences will be conducted, not only in this issue, till the Tamil people get their respect and also their protection, we will continue to support them. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Krishnasamy. Our next speaker is Mr. Ayyanathan from Nam Tamilar Katchi. He's the international coordinator.
அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். I stand here as the representative of Nam Tamilar Katchi, led by Sendamadan Seeman.
Yes.
From the depth of my heart, I thank the all-party parliamentarians group for Tamils for standing with us to ask for a impartial international investigation into the massacre of Tamils in Sri Lanka. Actually, the whole world and the humanitarian organizations are calling for an investigation into the war crimes committed during the war. We Nam Tamilar Katchi and we Tamils differ much from that demand. Because when we say investigate into the war crimes that are committed, violations of humanitarian laws in the war, that means that the war is justified. But what we say, it is not a war crime, but the war itself is a crime to exterminate Tamils. That is what has happened. I, as a journalist who have recorded all the facts, day-to-day events in that war, in the website in which I worked as an editor, tamil.webdunia.com, I know the pain of those killing. Say for an example, on the Pongal day in 2009 January, on that particular day, early in the morning to the afternoon, incessant bombings from air and army and from the sea have killed over 300 people. I have reported this. Many people are telling this is war crime committed by few generals and few army personnel and all these things. The truth is not that. The truth, as my friend Jude Lal Fernando, I happened to see him, his face today. I thank you for your humanitarian heart. I thank you. This is such a crime committed nowhere except in the soil of Sri Lanka in the post-World War II. It is terrible crime. A lot of videos I have put it in my site. But how is that? When 7,000 people killed in the camps of Srebrenica has been considered as a genocide, but not over 150,000 Tamils massacred in a period of 2.5 years is not considered as a question as genocide. This is what our pain. Today, the all-party parliamentary group has come forward, who have been standing with our cause for so long. Today they are endorsing our resolution for an international investigation into the killings in Sri Lanka. Please understand, we not only seek justice to what has been perpetrated against our Tamils in the island of Sri Lanka, but we also wanted all the members of the parliament and others, please understand, we Tamils do a dignified, peaceful life with liberty. For this we are fighting for. For this even Jude fight for it. Many Lankans who are with the justice in their heart to fight with us. We will carry on our struggle. We will carry on our struggle till we attain the justice, till we attain the right which every other human being enjoys on earth. Thank you for your support. Thanks from the bottom of the heart again. Thank you.
This particular event is a cut above all other events when it comes to addressing what has been happening in Sri Lanka, not only during the last stages of the war, but also ever since the British left Sri Lanka and handed over power to the Sinhalese. It's different because if you've seen the recent dialogue that has been taking place internationally, that dialogue has been very specific. The international community has been only interested in talking about war crimes that have been taking place only in the last stages of the war. And that is since January 2009 till May 2009. Whilst those crimes were being committed, and whilst we as former members of parliament and members of parliament at that time engaged with the international community, we were given two assurances. One was that if there was a bloodbath, the Tamils were given an assurance that there will be very serious consequences for the Sri Lankan state. The second assurance that was given was that the LTT, in the eyes of the international community being a terrorist organization, once that organization is taken out of this picture, the Tamil people's struggle for their rights will be recognized and there would be peace. I think both these assurances today has to be called into question. Firstly, what we know is that war crimes, focusing on war crimes is, or rather purely focusing on war crimes is actually very counterproductive. 3 years after the war finished, where there is no war, so obviously there is no war crimes, crimes are still being committed against the Tamil people. We as a party who work with the most affected and the most oppressed people in the Vanni, which is where the final stages of the war took place, today are in fact telling us that they feel that they rather should have died in Muldevaikal than live the life that they're living today. Such are the crimes that are being perpetrated against those people today. So talking about war crimes is actually immaterial in today's context. While certainly we need to address the most heinous crimes that took place during the war, if we don't widen our ambit, then we will be failing by those people today who still are being massacred, who are being destroyed, their livelihoods are being destroyed, their very existence is being called under question. In that sense, I think this conference is a cut above all others, because we have not only Tamils from the island of Sri Lanka who are here, but we also have Tamils from Tamil Nadu and Tamils from all over the world. So in that sense, I believe that this is a landmark, and I would like to congratulate the organizers for this event. Secondly, whilst we have got here today and we have pronounced to the world that genocide should be investigated, and that is in fact what is taking place, we must also understand what that genocide is. It is not a genocide against a religious group. It is not a genocide against some other ordinary group. It is a genocide in that it is a systematic dismantling of the existence of the Tamils as a nation in the island of Sri Lanka. It's nothing else. Now the international community might not want to accept it as a genocide, firstly. Secondly, the international community will also hesitate in recognizing the fact that we are a nation in our own right. But that does not mean that we should not say what is actually happening. And in that sense, in another sense, I think this conference has become an immense success. So tomorrow, I believe that the participants will be hoping to get together and forge a program for the future. And in that future program, I think it is quintessential that we include a political process for ourselves with regards to how we are going to engage the international community. Because during the last stages of the war, the international community gave us assurances. We need to hold those assurances and the international community to account. And that process can only happen if we accept that the Tamils are a nation and they have to be recognized in their own right as a nation, and in essence, make whatever steps the Sri Lankan state is doing today, which is to dismantle the nation, irrelevant. If that does not happen, today's exercise will also be an academic one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gajendra Kumar Ponnambalam. Our next speaker is Mr. Sambath Arjunan from the Hindu Makkal Katchi.
அன்னை மாகாளியின் வடிவமாக, பராசக்தியின் வடிவமாக, மகா சரஸ்வதியின் வடிவமாக இருந்து எம்மை ஈன்று இன்னமுதூட்டி இமய முதல் ஈழம் வரை பறந்து விரிந்து கிடக்கின்ற இந்துக்களின் ஆதி தாயகமான பாரத மணித்திருநாட்டை வணங்குகிறேன். முதற்கண் பாராளுமன்றங்களின் தாய் என்று வர்ணிக்கப்படக்கூடிய, உலகத்து நாடாளுமன்றங்களுக்கெல்லாம் முன்மாதிரியாக இருக்கக்கூடிய இந்த நாடாளுமன்றத்திலே மிக அற்புதமாக எம் மக்களுடைய உரிமைகளை காப்பதற்காக ஒரு கூட்டுக்குழுவை அமைத்து இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியை ஏற்பாடு செய்திருக்கிற அவர்களுக்கு என்னுடைய மனதார்ந்த நன்றியை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். இலங்கை என்பது ஒரு நெடிய வரலாறு கொண்ட புண்ணிய பூமி. அங்கே வசிக்கக்கூடிய இந்து தமிழர்கள் பூர்வகுடி மக்கள். அந்த மக்கள் வாழ்ந்த அடையாளம் தெரியாமல் அழிக்கின்ற ஒரு நோக்கத்தோடு இன்றைக்கு ராஜபக்சேவுடைய அரசாங்கம் செய்து வருகிறது. இது ஒரு யுத்தம் அல்ல, ஒரு போர்க்குற்றம் அல்ல. யுத்தம் என்றால் துப்பாக்கிகளில் குண்டுகளில் சண்டை போட்டுக் கொள்ளுவது. போய் நம்முடைய நூலகங்களை எரிப்பது எந்த வகையிலே யுத்தம்? நம்முடைய கோவில்களை, வழிபடுகின்ற கோவில்களை இடிப்பது எந்த வகையிலே யுத்தம்? நம்முடைய கலாச்சாரத்தினுடைய ஆணி வேர்களை களைந்து தீயிட்டு கொளுத்துவது எந்த வகையிலே யுத்தம்? முழுக்க முழுக்க பிரிட்டிஷ் ஆட்சி காலத்திலேயே அவர்களுடைய இனவெறி கொள்கைகளை துவங்கி விட்டார்கள். அவர்கள் அந்த ஜெனோசைட் பாலிசியை அப்பொழுதே அமுல்படுத்த துவங்கி விட்டார்கள். அப்பொழுதே கூட இந்த ராணி அம்மையாருக்கு கணித ஆசிரியராக இருந்த சுந்தரலிங்கம் அவர்கள் வேண்டுகோள் வைத்தார்கள். அடங்கா தமிழர் முன்னணி என்று ஆரம்பித்தார்கள். நீங்கள் எங்களை இவர்களிடத்தில் விட்டு செல்கிற பொழுது எங்களுக்கு ஒரு வழி செய்யுங்கள் என்று சொன்னார்கள். ஆனால் பிரிட்டிஷ்காரன் நம்மை அவர்களிடத்திலே ஒற்றையாட்சி முறையிலே ஒப்படைத்து சென்று விட்டான். அதற்கு முன்பாக அங்கே 3 அரசுகள் இருந்தன. ஆகவே இந்த பிரிட்டிஷ் நாடாளுமன்றத்திற்கு ஒரு மிகப்பெரிய கடமை இருக்கிறது. இஸ்ரேலுக்கு அவர்கள் எப்படி விடுதலை வாங்கி கொடுத்தார்களோ, இந்தியா எப்படி வங்கதேசத்திற்கு விடுதலை வாங்கி கொடுத்ததோ, அதே போல எம் மக்களுக்கு எங்களுடைய மண்ணை மீட்டு தர வேண்டும், தனித்தமிழ் ஈழத்தை அமைத்துக் கொடுக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு கடப்பாடு இந்த நாடாளுமன்றத்திற்கு இருக்கிறது. இது ஒரு ஜெனோசைட் என்கின்ற அடிப்படையிலே இது ஒரு சர்வதேச பிரச்சனையாக மாற்றப்படுகிறது. ஓகே, ஆனால் இந்த யுனைடெட் கிங்டம், இந்த அரசாங்கத்திற்கு, இந்த அரசுக்கு, ஏன் இவர்கள் தான் எங்களை அவர்களிடத்திலே விட்டு வந்தார்கள். மலேசியாவிலே விட்டு வந்தார்கள். அவர்களுக்காக சர்வதேச நீதிமன்றத்திலே ஹிந்துரா போராடி இருக்கிறது. இப்பொழுது ஆங்கிலேய அரசாங்கம் கேள்வி கேட்கிறது, எங்களை மட்டும் ஏன் அனாதைகளாக்கினீர்கள்? அன்பிற்குரியவர்களே, இந்த நாடாளுமன்றத்திலே இது ஒரு நல்ல விவாதத்திற்கு எடுத்துக் கொள்ளப்பட வேண்டும். இது ஒரு முதல் படி, ஒரு இன்டர்நேஷனல் இண்டிபெண்டன்ட் என்கொயரி என்பது. நான் இதை 100 கோடி மக்களுடைய பிரச்சனையாக பார்க்கிறேன், 100 கோடி இந்துக்களின் பிரச்சனையாக பார்க்கிறேன். இதற்காக இந்து மக்கள் கட்சியின் சார்பிலே டெல்லியிலே, கோவாவிலே பிற மொழி பேசக்கூடிய இந்துக்களை திரட்டி மாநாடுகளை நடத்தி அவர்களிடத்திலும் இது இந்து பிரச்சனை என்கின்ற அடிப்படையிலே குரல் கொடுத்திருக்கிறோம். விரிவாக பேசுவதற்கு வாய்ப்பில்லை. இன்னும் நிறைய பேர் அவர்களுடைய கருத்துக்களை பதிவு செய்ய வேண்டிய காரணம் இருக்கின்ற காரணத்தினால் நிச்சயமாக கூழியர்கோன் வெப்பொழித்த புகழியர்கோன் ஞானசம்பந்தருடைய அருளாலே தனித்தமிழீழம் மலரும், புத்தரோடு அமனைவாதில் அழிவிக்கும் மன்னல் திருநீர் செம்மை திடமே திருநீர் ஜெயிக்கும், நந்தி கொடி பறக்கும் என்று சொல்லி விடைபெறுகிறேன். நன்றி, வணக்கம்.
Thank you very much to the Hindu Makkal Kachi for all of your support. Next speaking is from Gandhiya Makkal Iyakam, Mr. Kumarayaya.
Good afternoon to all. I represent Gandhiya Makkal Iyakam and its president, Mr. Tamilari Maniyan. I straight away come to the point. The war is over in Sri Lanka. Even after 3 years, the grievances of the Tamils in east and north are redressed. 1 lakh military personnel are still present in the north and eastern regions. They interfere into the day-to-day life of the Tamil people, and it has created a psychological fear among the Tamil people. So it is the prime duty of the international community to evolve an international protection mechanism to stop this structural genocide. The Rajapaksa government wants to change the demography through forced colonization, the destruction of the Tamil national identity, the Tamil language, the Tamil culture, the Tamil people's religious faith. It deliberately violated the Tamil people's human rights enshrined in the UN Charter and Declaration of Human Rights over human treaties and other human treaties and conventions. The internally displaced people are not being resettled in their original places of residences. Instead, they are being dumped in areas of jungles with no basic facilities. This cruel act of the government clearly declares the dereliction of the international obligation. Even after 3 years of the war, neither the international media nor the international credible human rights organizations are allowed to acquaint with the prevailing situations in the north and east. Now, the Rajapaksa government is planning to reduce the number of provincials with the intention of destroying the Tamil nation. They are planning to reduce the number of provinces from 9 to 5 with the hidden agenda of drawing the provincial boundary where Tamils and Muslims are majority. The intention of the government is nothing but making Tamils or Muslims not to have majority in any of the provinces. As already told by other speakers, UK has the binding duty to resolve Tamil problems in Sri Lanka because it was the British colonial power created the problem by unifying the Tamils homeland with single Sri Lanka. However, it is the duty of the international community to bring justice to the Tamils. However, even if it is not happening, the international community should put forward economical sanctions against Sri Lanka. Even if it is not done, no other go. A plebiscite is to be conducted, and the Sri Lankan peoples and Tamils, the displaced Tamil, Sri Lankan Tamils living all over India can or should decide whether they want to live in a unified Sri Lanka or they want a separate Elam. If the things are not happening, the Tamils and the Tamil community will be pushed towards Tamil Elam, and I think our president, who is Mr. Tamilaru Manian, who was not able to make his presence today, will make his presence and speech in independent Tamil Elam. Thank you.
Thank you on behalf of the Gandhiya Makkal Iyakkam. We've just got a few more speakers. Our next speaker is Mr. Saravanan from Save Tamil's Moment of Tamil Nadu.
Good afternoon, everybody. 3 years since the end of the brutal war on Tamils in Sri Lanka that killed more than 40,000 Tamil civilians in the last phase. In Jan 2009, Permanent People's Tribunal, Dublin, report confirmed and categorized Sri Lanka's actions during the war as war crimes, crimes against humanity, and also under possible charges of genocide. Further, in April 2011, UN Secretary General's advisory panel found credible allegations of war crimes and crimes against humanity committed by Sri Lankan government. Both Dublin report and UN panel report recommended an independent international investigation. The UN panel and other human rights organizations slammed Sri Lanka's own LLRC, citing it as deeply flawed and that it did not meet the international standards. Channel 4's video documentary, Sri Lanka's Killing Fields, and the other reports of other human rights organizations emphasize the need of the international independent investigation. The report by the Bishop of Mannas claimed that about 146,679 Vandi Tamils went missing based on government's record before and after war explains the magnitude of the crimes by the Sri Lankan forces. Post-war peace era started with the detention of 3 lakh Tamils in the barbed wire camps with incremental deployment of Sri Lankan military personnel in Tamil areas and accelerated Sinhala colonization in Tamil homeland. The conduct of the war, magnitude of killing, and the post-war happenings in the island unveils the genocidal intentions behind the Sri Lankan war crimes. Only an independent international investigation could bring out the facts and bring the preparatives of crimes under the legal proceedings of International Criminal Court. The said investigation will reveal the failure of the UN and other international community in protecting Iram Tamils during the final stage of the war. We, the people of Tamil Nadu, have been witnessing the programs against Iram Tamils by the Sinhala separatist Sri Lankan state for the last 60 years, and we recognize the Vanni War in 2009 as a part of systematic ethnic cleansing of Tamils. With this background, we urge the UN and the international community to pursue the independent international investigation in the historic context of subjugation of Iram Tamils by Sri Lankan state, and towards finding a political solution based on their inherent right to statehood as a remedial justice. Thanks.
Thank you for your kind words. I apologize for rushing towards the end now. We just need to quickly give thanks to all of the people that have made this event possible today. We will have additional speakers who are unable to speak today at tomorrow's conference. We would like to thank All Party Parliamentary Group for Tamils for organising the event in collaboration with the British Tamil Forums. Gavin Barwell, MP for Croydon Central, for sponsoring this reception, and to Siobhan McDowell, MP for Mitcham and Morden, for helping us secure the venue for this conference to take place. We thank all the delegates, in particular Stella Crazy, John Mann, Lee Scott, Alok Sharma, Robert Halford, Right Honourable Simon Hughes, Jeremy Corbyn, and all of the participants for making this event a huge success. Last but not least, our sincere thanks to our APPGT coordinator Hazel Weinberg for her tireless contribution towards the success of this conference. Unfortunately, the networking session has got cut much shorter than we expected. Food is still available, but we need to clear from this place by 3 p.m. Thank you.
சாப்பாடு